In this video, we reveal the shocking story of a woman whose desire for a perfect life drove her to unimaginable extremes. Guidaria Estefania Zabala, born September 6, 1978 in Mexico City, is a person who is known to everyone as Estebaliz. She said that her dad was a writer and political commentator who often said bad things about the Mexican government. Because he was an activist, the government went after him and the military was sent to search his home. Before we continue, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more real-life crime documentaries, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. And tell me in the comments which country are you watching from. I always find it incredible to see how far these stories travel and how many people around the world care about seeking justice and uncovering the truth behind real-life cases. Your support truly means more than you know. It's what allows these stories to reach new audiences, to spread awareness, and to remind us all why it's so important to keep searching for answers even when justice takes years to arrive. So, thank you for being here, for caring, and for continuing to stand for truth. Now, let's get back to the story. Even though Estebaliz was very young at the time, the event changed her life in a big way. She remembered that men in uniform and armed with weapons stepped on her toys as they went through the house. When things got tough, the family went to Spain to start over. It wasn't easy to start over in Spain, though. Since her dad wasn't making as much money as he did in Mexico, things were tough, and the family moved into a much smaller house. He did his job from home and wrote about things he didn't like for long periods of time on the computer. Being around Estebaliz made her quiet and nervous, and the house often felt very dark. It didn't get better at school. Estebaliz thought that people looked down on her because she was Mexican. It was always hard for her to make friends. Some of her classmates were her friends, but no one really thought of her as a friend. Everything changed when her mom had a child. Estebaliz adored her little brother and couldn't wait to have her own child one day. They told her when she was 10 years old that she could get married and have a child. Everyone laughed, but Estebaliz only wanted to be married and have kids. As a teenager, she started going to parties and clubs in her area. Many men approached her because they thought she was so beautiful, but she never dated anyone at the time. An older man once asked her to come to a secret party. Once she got there, he locked her up in a room by herself, took her there, and did whatever he wanted with her. It wasn't Estebaliz's choice, and she never reported the event or told anyone about it at the time. She got married for the first time when she was 17. She fell in love with him and thought they would always be together. The young man made it clear he didn't feel the same way when she said she wanted to get married, move to a small, quiet place, and start a family. They broke up. Estebaliz was very sad. She started to think about hurting someone for the first time in her life. She imagined her ruining the car's brakes or the apartment heater to start a fire, among other things. But for now, she could only remember all of it in her mind. Estebaliz was one of the best students in her high school class that year, even though she was hurting and scared. Her parents quickly realized she was having a hard time. They chose to help her find a job in Germany. They had friends in that country, so they sent Estebaliz to Berlin to work all summer. The young woman was happy because she would be far from Barcelona and her ex-boyfriend and all the memories she had of him. Estebaliz learned German very quickly after moving there and came to like the way of life there. After the summer, she went ahead and got a job at an ice cream shop near Nuremberg, which is about 4 hours away from the house of a friend of her parents. She chose to start over. She was never very good at making friends, but she liked talking to customers and sellers. An ice cream shop owner saw a man walk in one day and stopped moving when she saw him. He sold refrigerators and was called Holger. He looked a bit like Estebaliz's ex-boyfriend from Spain. Even though he was older, he looked like her ex-boyfriend would have in his early 30s. He was 15 years older than Estebaliz, who was 22 years old at the time. He thought she was beautiful and often told her so. Holger asked her to go on a date right away and she said yes. They started dating right away, and after a few weeks he asked her to marry him. He told Estebaliz that they could only be close after they got married, which she thought was the most sweet thing she had ever heard. Holger was a Hare Krishna and was against having contact before marriage. Not long after that they got married in a small wedding with only a few close friends. The choice to get married was made quickly, so neither family showed up. It was a little scary for Estibaliz before the wedding, but she decided to act normally. At the time, Holger didn't know this, and soon after the wedding, things started to go badly between them. Estibaliz said Holger was a nightmare and she felt bad about getting married to him. However, he told her she was too thin and not as pretty as she thought. They did, however, exchange promises of love soon after. The connection was rough and confusing. Every day, Estibaliz told her husband that she wanted to have a child, but he told her that he wasn't ready. Later, the pair chose to move to Berlin, which is where Holger is from. Holger kept his job as a refrigerator seller and Estibaliz got a job at another ice cream shop. He did strange jobs to make ends meet after losing his job. Holger told them they should move to Austria and open their own ice cream shop in the town of Is Lady, since Estibaliz had always wanted to see the beautiful city of Vienna. At first, she wasn't sure, but when Holger said they could start a family once they got to Vienna, she agreed. They bought a small apartment in Vienna close to an ice cream shop called Schlera and lived there. At first, Holger and Estibaliz both wanted their business to make money and be fun. People of all ages crowded into the store during the summer. It was well planned and the service was great, so everyone loved it. To make money in the winter, they sold cakes, coffee, and tea. The business did well right from the start. Some people bought from them often and they seemed to be getting happier. But it was soon clear that Estibaliz was doing all the work while Holger stayed at home and watched TV or browsed the web. Estibaliz remembered that her husband had promised to start a family. But Holger kept putting things off. He told her over and over that they would have a baby later even though she was nearly begging for one. In fact, Holger didn't do anything intimate with her at all. As a Hare Krishna, he thought that being close was only for making babies. He also didn't sleep with his wife because he wasn't ready to have kids. It's possible that Estibaliz's obsession on having a child made him want to have none. He always said that life had more important things than being close to someone. The two people only got together once a week to go to Hare Krishna meetings. She wasn't part of the movement, but she thought it was her job as his wife to go with him. Holger all of a sudden became interested in guns and began to collect them. Estibaliz didn't like guns. She never told him what she thought or asked him about it, but she was very angry inside. A deadly snake was taking shape in her mind. In 2007, Estibaliz met a guy that interested her. Manfred was his name. He sold ice cream and was 48 years old. Their friendship was a lot like how Estibaliz and Holger had met. She loved how Manfred made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world every time he came to the ice cream shop. The man knew she was unhappy and married. Manfred asked her out one day without thinking about it first. Estibaliz and Holger had a fight the day before which made her more likely to accept the offer. They got together in a secret spot and talked and drank for a few hours. From that day on, they began having an affair. As time went on, they started meeting up often in Vienna at bars and breweries. Estibaliz thought she was finally living her love dream. At one of these events, 25-year-old Sasha, who often went to Holger and Estibaliz's ice cream shop, saw the couple together. Estibaliz was always afraid of being found out. She was shocked when Sasha didn't tell anyone. Even so, Estibaliz knew she had to do something because she was going to be caught sooner or later. Manfred told her she should get a divorce from Holger. He told her that he was better at running the ice cream shop and that she was beautiful and earned the best things in life. Estibaliz chose to file for divorce because she thought her marriage could not be saved and was excited about her new boyfriend. She was free to make her relationship with Manfred public after they broke up. Soon after meeting her new love, she told him she was excited to have kids. However, Manfred wasn't as excited. He was already married and had 2 grown children, so he didn't want any more. Their relationship got worse because their wants were at odds with each other. Not long after that, they chose to break up, which shocked Estibaliz. Even though they were no longer married, Holger wouldn't leave the flat. Estibaliz thought she had a better reason to stay since she ran the ice cream shop and Holger never gave her money. This caused a lot of fights. At that very moment, Estibaliz remembered the sad thought she had when she broke up with her high school boyfriend. It made her feel good to think about getting Holger out of her life. Then on April 27, 2008, Estibaliz went home after a long day at the shop, which was a happy place where kids and their parents often went. Her house, on the other hand, was tense. Estibaliz chose to have a serious talk with Holger because he spent the whole day in front of the computer. She asked him again to leave so that they could both move on with their lives. Estibaliz says Holger told her she was useless and wouldn't be able to live by herself. It was at that point that she thought she had no choice but to do something very bad to get rid of him. She told herself that he was just a demanding, shady man to make her actions seem okay. Holger turned his back on her and kept working on the computer after the fight. She saw some of his guns on the table in the dining room. Then Estibaliz took out a .22 caliber Beretta, pointed it at the head of her ex-husband, and fired it twice. Then she got closer and shot again. She then turned around, put the gun down on the table, grabbed her purse, and left the flat. At the same time, Estibaliz was talking to another guy online in secret and asked to spend the night with him. She tried to forget about the body of her ex-husband in the apartment by going to work right away the next morning. She knew she had to go back to the apartment to deal with things after work because she couldn't run away anymore. She felt a mix of relief and fear when she opened the door and saw Holger still where she had left him. At that time, Estibaliz chose to burn his body as the best way to get rid of it. She doused him in gasoline and set him on fire in the flat. Soon, there was a lot of thick smoke and a worried neighbor hit the fire alarm. When Estibaliz opened the front door to let some smoke out, he saw two firemen coming up the steps. She tried very hard to make them believe that nothing was wrong by saying that she had forgotten to put a chicken in the oven. They were lucky that they believed her and left. As the hours went by, Estibaliz couldn't take it any longer, so she took a shower and went to her boyfriend's house, leaving Holger half-burned in front of the computer. The smell of death had taken over the flat when she came back the next day. Since there was a bad smell coming from inside, a neighbor knocked on the door and asked if she was cooking fish. She told the woman she was sorry and said yes. Estibaliz knew she had to get rid of Holger's body right away because she couldn't wait any longer. She made a plan because of this. Holger was pretty big, about 287 pounds. But Estibaliz was not very tall. She could never get his body down the stairs. He could only be thrown away by cutting him up. She chose to buy a chainsaw at that point. She bought everything she needed at a hardware shop. She put down a tarp on the floor of her room when she got back and began the process. She had to stop and rest because it was too hard for her. After that, she cleaned up and went back to her lover's house, leaving Holger's body parts all over the room. Estibaliz came back the next day to finish the job. She filled buckets with concrete and put her ex-husband's body parts in them. After several hours, when the concrete was completely dry, she was able to take the heavy buckets downstairs. Then she called a cab to take her to the ice cream shop, which was 984 feet away. The truck driver didn't ask her about the buckets of concrete because she said she was fixing up the house. Later, she took the buckets full of concrete to the basement of her ice cream shop because it made her think of a graveyard. She thought Holger could rest there in peace because it was quiet and calm. There was blood all over the room and Estibaliz had to clean it up quickly before anyone saw. She cleaned the whole place up over the course of several days. The couple didn't have many close friends in Vienna because they were from outside the country, so no one noticed that Holger had gone missing. Estibaliz was the only one who knew what really happened to her ex-husband. To their friends, she told them that Holger had left the country after the split. As Estibaliz went on with her life, she ran her ice cream shop and looked for true love. After 3 years, she started dating Manfred again, but he seemed only interested in having fun and told her they should be friends because he wasn't ready to be her only boyfriend. This made her very angry. Estibaliz couldn't believe Manfred expected her to sleep with other men while she was with him and didn't mind. Her only goal was to get married and have kids. She also wouldn't let anyone else share him with anyone else. She once looked through his emails and phone to see if he was cheating and found naked pictures of women, which made her very angry. She thought that Manfred was to blame for what she had done to her ex-husband. She thought that she wouldn't have shot Holger if he hadn't told her to leave him. And the dark dreams came back again. They did it again at the end of November 2010. She found out that Manfred had been online all night one morning. She looked at his viewing history as soon as he got to work and saw that he was talking to several women on an online dating site. It made her very angry because she thought the women Manfred talked to were nothing like her. He looked for women who liked sports and had good bodies. She felt terrible because she knew other people thought she was too skinny. She tried all day to forget what she had seen, but she just couldn't. Later, she bought a plane ticket to Barcelona to try to feel better. She had planned to spend Christmas with her family there, but the trip didn't work out, and she was still mad at Manfred. She could only feel better when she went into her dream world and killed Manfred there. To make the dream more real, she got a new chainsaw and some bags of concrete. She also took a class to learn how to work with cement better. She promised to do her best this time. It would be planned, not just thrown together like the last time. Manfred and Estibaliz went on a date one night in late November. The first thing they did was walk around the park. Then they took a taxi to the museum area where a friend had a punch stand. They drank a lot of mulled wine and were a little tipsy. Manfred began to look at other women. When Estibaliz approached him, they got into a fight. They fought again when they got home just after midnight. He said he wasn't trying to hurt anyone and that he was hooked on women, but Estibaliz told him what he had to do. Either he went to treatment or they shouldn't hang out anymore. Manfred told her she wasn't required to stay with him and said no. He went to bed, turned his back to the wall, and began to snore after the fight. Estibaliz became even more angry and chose to kill Manfred right then. She found a gun under the bed, picked it up, loaded it, and shot him 4 times. She then slept next to him after leaving him on the bed. She cried and begged for forgiveness when she woke up the next morning and saw what she had done. But she quickly calmed down because she had to work on hiding her tracks. She worked much harder this time because she remembered how hard things were after she did her first crime. One thing was wrong, though. Manfred, on the other hand, was born and raised in Vienna. When he disappeared, his family and friends quickly made the connection to Estibaliz. She said she had no idea where he might be. About 6 days after the crime, she even went to the police office to say that he was missing, even though she knew for sure that Manfred was dead. He had the same thing happen to him as Holger. He was shot, cut up, and put in plastic buckets full of cement, which were then kept in the basement of the ice cream shop. She went to get her nails done after everything was done. In front of his friends, Estibaliz claimed to be worried about Manfred's whereabouts. She put on a victim act and said he didn't love her enough to stay. The man in charge at that time was 47 years old and a friend of Manfred's. His name was Roland. He began to spend a lot of time with her and took her to dinner. The friendship turned into a relationship in the end. Roland had already made plans, but that wasn't a problem. He broke up with his lover in January 2011 to be with Estibaliz. They looked like they were very happy together. And after dating for 5 months, Estibaliz found out she was pregnant. Roland was shocked and pleased. She said yes when he asked her to marry him. It looked like Estibaliz's dreams were finally coming true. It was great for her ice cream shop. She was loved by a nice man. She was planning to get married and have a baby, but everything was about to fall apart. Around 9 a.m. on June 6, 2011, Estibaliz walked the 984 feet from her flat to her ice cream shop. She could feel stress in the air when she walked in. She asked a customer who the man in overalls was and what was going on when he walked by. The man was a plumber who was called because there was a leak in the beauty shop next door. Someone had to break down a locked door to get into the ice cream shop's basement so the plumber could fix it. People talked behind the plumber's back that he had found something very bad down there. Small freezers held buckets of body parts and air filters were placed all over the place to cover the smell. People were already guessing if what was in the buckets was all that was left of Manfred. She laughed, made up a reason, and ran out of the ice cream shop as fast as she could. At the same time, several police cars arrived and blocked off the area. The woman wanted to run away. She did the right thing and went to the bank around the corner from her shop to get all of her savings. She needed her savings book, but it was back at the ice cream shop, and there was a long line at the bank. While she was waiting, she realized she needed it. She didn't dare go back because the cops had already blocked off the whole street. She called the woman who cleaned her house. She asked the woman to meet her at a nearby bridge with her savings book because she thought the woman was probably her best friend. The woman agreed. Estibaliz became more and more stressed as she waited, wondering if the cleaner would help her or turn her over to the police. It was a surprise that the woman brought her things. They cried and hugged, but they didn't say anything. They both knew that they would likely never see each other again. Estibaliz took out a sum of $10,000 from her savings at the bank. Once she had the money, she felt relieved and knew it was time for the second part of her plan to get away. But her passport was still at home and she didn't want to risk going there because the cops were all over the place. She was lucky that she saw one of her clients driving by and getting close to where she was. It was Sasha, the same young man who saw her with Manfred when they were still dating. He stopped. When she waved, she jumped into the car and told him straight out that the cops were after her because of something Manfred had done. He was asked to pick up her passport from the flat. The young man didn't say anything, but he agreed. He left the car running on a side street near the flat and told her to run if he didn't come back in 15 minutes. Like with the cleaner, Estibaliz wasn't sure if she could trust him completely. He did come back, though. His mistake was that he took her Mexican visa instead of her Spanish one. The boy got scared when she told him to go back. She broke down in tears and asked him to get her a SIM card and take her to the airport. As he drove back to the car, Sasha agreed again, but this time he called a cab, gave her the SIM card, and wished her luck. She gave Roland her new phone number and wrote a note at the airport asking him to meet her right away. Then she gave the cab driver the note and some money and asked to be taken to Roland's place of work. Estibaliz was stressed out and didn't know what to do while waiting in the departure room. She looked up the first flight that went to another country. The trip was to Paris. She bought a ticket, but she never got to the gate where you boarded. Her phone rang at that very moment. It was Roland. In the distance, she saw him looking around in the crowd, not sure what was going on. She told him she was going to Spain because her dad was very sick and would not make it. He didn't believe her and pushed her to tell the truth, but all she could do was say she was sorry for what she had done. Roland then went back to his car and drove off. Estibaliz knew that if she went to the airport, she could get caught. She decided to give up on the trip and took a taxi to a train station. However, the station did not sell foreign tickets. So, she got in another taxi and asked the driver to take her to Udine, an Italian city about 5 hours' drive from Vienna. The driver thought it looked fishy. She told him she had to be there on time for a dance show, even though the trip was long and cost a lot of money. On the radio in the car, the terrible find at Schlera ice cream shop was being talked about. She told the driver on the way to Italy that she was running away from the cops. He then told her he would take her to the next town. She got him to agree to book a hotel room under his name when they got there. She stayed the night in Cavato, but was too worried to sleep. She made friends with another guest at breakfast the next morning and asked for a ride to Udine. Estibaliz went straight to a beauty shop. When she got to Udine to change how she looked, she cut and dyed her hair darker. She thought for a moment that her plan was going to work. The taxi driver told the cops that she was going to Italy and gave them the name of the hotel where she was dropped off, but she had already left by the time the cops got to the hotel the next day. Ivan was a street singer in Udine that Estibaliz met while he was playing in a park. She shared a sad story about her husband and explained that she had fled to Udine to avoid being caught. Estibaliz asked Ivan if she could stay with him for 1 or 2 days, making it clear that she wouldn't sleep with him and offering to pay for a place to stay. Ivan said yes, and he let her stay with him. He started to doubt the pregnant woman over time. He thought it was a good idea to call the police because she seemed to be obsessed with the case involving an ice cream shop in Austria. Four police officers went to Ivan's house early on June 10, 2011 and arrested Estibaliz Carranza. She began to bleed the morning she was arrested and thought she might lose her baby. She chose to tell the truth so that she could be taken to the hospital and her baby would be safe. After she gave a full statement, she was sent back to Austria and put in pretrial detention while she waited her trial. In January 2012, around this time, she gave birth to a boy and named him Roland. Roland, the boy's father and her fiancé, chose to marry Estibaliz after the baby was born. A lot of people were angry. What makes him want to marry a criminal? He said Estibaliz was the most beautiful woman in the world and that he would wait for her for as long as it took for her to get out of jail. Estibaliz also talked a lot about how she felt about Roland. She said he was nothing like the men she had cheated on with before. He loved and was kind. She said that she would not have killed anyone if she had met Roland sooner. Estibaliz's parents, who lived in Barcelona, were given custody of their child. Roland did not agree with the choice but was unable to alter it. It was in Vienna, Austria in November 2012 that Estibaliz Carranza's trial started. It went on for 4 days and 50 witnesses were called. Estibaliz showed up at court in a very nice outfit. She said that Holger and Manfred were violent and possessive as an excuse for her actions. She cried a lot while she spoke. The prosecution knew that persuading the judges that someone so beautiful and with a sweet voice could be a cold and cunning criminal would be the hardest part. In reality, she was very pretty, and her big brown eyes and fragile look made everyone feel sorry for her. The jury wasn't fooled by how things looked, though. The prosecution also showed pictures of what was in the buckets she had hidden in the basement of the ice cream shop, which shocked everyone there. Estibaliz Carranza was found guilty and given a lifetime without the chance to get out. The court also ordered a psychiatric exam which showed that she was not stable mentally. The news story said that Estibaliz thought of herself as a princess and her biggest dream was to be saved by a handsome prince. She killed guys who didn't live up to her high standards when they came into her life. Psychologists said she had a personality problem and didn't think she would be able to kill anyone else. In every scene, she played herself as a weak, sensitive woman whose only goal was to live a normal life. She studied and even wrote a book called My Two Lives, the true story of Ice Lady, while she was in jail. The money she made from that book went all to her son. Estibaliz has never told anyone or looked for help about the mental abuse she was getting from her husband and boyfriend. In both situations, she wasn't in immediate danger and had enough money to take care of herself. She could have just left, but she decided to kill them instead. The fact that she lied to so many people while she was running away shows how cold-blooded she is. A lot of people were tricked, which shows she's not a weak or useless woman. She and Roland split up in 2015. Some news sources say they broke up because they couldn't agree on who would have care of the kids. In 2017, she was moved from Schwarzhaus prison for women to a jail for men near Linz, where she became the first woman to be locked up there. Judges said she was moved because she was stirring up trouble and getting into a lot of fights in the women's jail. Estibaliz was only meant to be there for a short time, but in September 2018, she fell in love with another prisoner and chose to stay. She said about this new relationship, "Martin has a personality disorder that includes borderline personality disorder and narcissism. He has a bad mood because of this. His desire to do bad things is especially high. It's impossible for him not to lie. Martin is not like me. He is a monster. I believe that this is why he makes the evil in my heart sound real. That's fine. It's time for me to really meet this other side of myself." She said it was a scary statement that showed how far she had fallen into her own darkness. Thank you for watching and taking the time to dive into this case with me. Every story we explore shows just how unpredictable and dangerous the world can be and why staying aware and informed is so important. If this video kept you on the edge of your seat or gave you a new perspective, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next deep dive into real-life mysteries and crimes. Your support helps the channel grow and allows us to keep uncovering the stories that matter. I want to hear from you, so leave a comment below and share your thoughts, theories, or the next case you think I should cover. Every comment is read and considered, and your input helps shape the future of this channel. And if you know someone who would be shocked or intrigued by this case, share this video with them. Together, we can spread awareness and keep these stories alive for everyone to learn from. Stay alert, trust your instincts, and take care of yourself and those around you. Awareness and knowledge are some of the strongest tools we have in a world full of uncertainty. Thank you again for being here, for supporting the channel, and for following along with these stories. Stay safe, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next video where we uncover another shocking truth. Bye. Yeah, puri script ka word-to-word English translation. Hi, bilkul as it is, koi cutting nahi, surf misspelled names or obvious typos ko real case ka correct names se fix kia hi, Jays Estabelas Carranza, Holger Holes, Manfred Hinterberger, etc., talk sense Bain, Warna original main bohot mispronunciations the. Ready for next? Fire.